So guys, I'm super excited to have the one and only John Ruhlin on here. He is the founder of the whole Giftology movement. And it's one of the most powerful ways, in my opinion, to build a predictable referral stream and to make people just like you and look forward to working with you. So John, thank you so much for coming on to teach us all about Giftology.
Thanks so much for having me, Bill. This is a lot of fun. And you know, when a mentor of mine, Cameron Harold, said, "Hey, this guy is worth engaging with," like I was just on, he has an incredible following. Like, just say yes. There's very few people that I just say yes blindly to, but Cameron's one of those guys. So thanks, man, for being willing to share what we're going to talk about. Which a lot of times when people hear the word giftology, they assume it's going to be a conversation about gifting. And ironically enough, nobody cares about gifts. I own a gifting agency and I don't even care about gifts. Like the core of whether you're a solopreneur, law firm owner, whether you're an author, whether you're a pro sports team, whether you're an accountant, everybody on the planet, the business that they do rises and falls based upon not gifting, not even really marketing, it's relationships, it's human beings. So the core of what I'm going to talk about is really, you know, if relationships matter to you, then how you show up for those relationships are going to determine. And everybody that we talk to, whether it's financial service guys or even pro sports teams, they're like, "John, I have a great product. I have a great service. I'm good at what I do. Why don't I get more referrals?" And I'm like, I'm going to walk you through a whole roadmap, a blueprint of why.
John, I'm going to start with one question for you.
Yeah.
What is your opinion of the number one mistake made in gift giving?
The number one mistake? I mean, there's lots. I would say making the gift about you and not them. And I think most people give gifts on their timetable. They give gifts about them. They give gifts with their logo on it. They give gifts that are concerned with, you know, basically it's self-focused. It's like buying, you know, if you're, you know, it's the old adage, like the guy that buys his wife a four-wheeler and she hates the outdoors. It's like, that wasn't a gift for you. That was a gift for yourself, or for her. It was a gift for yourself. But people in business do it all the time. It's like the logo, the colors, the timing. Hey, we've been in business 10 years. Here's a gift. Nobody cares that you've been in business 10 years. They care what you can do for them. And I think the other thing is not understanding that it's not really a gifting conversation. It's a results conversation. Like whether you spend $1 or $1 million, it's like if it produces a 5X, a 10X, like as entrepreneurs, we're all looking to make investments and bets. And what I love about our category is it's a blue ocean. Nobody else, most people are like maybe really good at Facebook ads or really good at, you know, like hosting dinners at their country club. All of those things are pretty busy and noisy, but finding those levers that nobody has and understanding that when you can show up in unique ways that nobody else is doing, like that's how you, like, we all want to tell stories about people. That's why people are like, "John, why do you care about the story and the handwritten note?" And I'm like, because I want them, when I'm not around or when my clients aren't around, I want there to be a story. And that only happens when you show up in a way that like makes people say, "Holy crap." It doesn't like check the box and give a case of wine at Christmas that you've been doing for the last 20 years. Nobody cares. So understanding that surprise and delight mentality and making it about them. If you just do those two things, you'll be in the top 5% of gift givers, because so many people, when they look at the worst gift to give and how to do this, they like, some of them come up to me like ghost in their face. They're like, "John, I've been doing this for 15 years and everything you said to do, I've been doing the wrong way." Because nobody ever told me that they actually thought less of me as a person when I gave them alcohol and I didn't realize that their dad was a recovering alcoholic. I just didn't know. Nobody ever challenged me on this. I just thought that like, I'm supposed to be generous at Christmas because I made money and this is what I'm supposed to do. So nobody ever calls people out and says, "Your gift sucked." I actually like have this gift guilt. I don't want to tell you honestly how I'm feeling, but that's honestly what a lot of people are feeling when they receive their tchotchkes and trinkets and peanut brittle at Christmas and all the stupid stuff that everybody does.
That's powerful right there. I'm already thinking about our gift giving process, which is highly automated. So when someone signs up with us, we automate sending them a couple different gifts, but it's very low customization. And we still get photos from people who will get our gift, which again is highly automated. And it makes me wonder now, if we just took that up a notch, how much different would it be? And how many people have that unspoken guilt? I think the most important question for everyone, and we can obviously answer the question that was asked about you having metal business cards as a segue into this. But what is, like, when you look at getting started, because not everyone's going to immediately go and create these huge, crazy gifts for people. First, we can answer the question about your business cards. Then we can transition into what is the best foolproof way to get started on this.
Well, I think that in business as a leader, most people have, a marketing plan or a financial plan or a sales plan. And personally, they might have a workout plan, an eating plan, all these, like, everybody plans. If they're a leader, they understand that, like, having some sort of strategy of, like, telling your money where to go and where you're going to make investments and all of that matter. But if you ask somebody, what's your relationship plan? Who got you to $2 million and who do you have to have on your team, clients, employees, partners, investors, whatever, to get to 10 million? Who are those people? And then how are you going to invest in those relationships? What's your relationship plan? And if you don't have one, guess what? The person who does have a plan, whether it's for your spouse, like, people get divorced when somebody else has a stronger plan of how to appreciate that person than you do. Like, it's just human. And clients are the same way. Like, if you don't appreciate what you have, it won't appreciate, and you're not going to have those relationships to go from 2 to 5 to 10 or whatever the numbers are. So I think having a plan, and it's just taking the time and writing those names down and saying, here's the people that have gotten me here. It might be 10 people, might be 20 people, might be 2 people, but then saying, wow, like, those relationships. And then what's the value of those relationships currently, or lifetime value? And when you start to put numbers to it, like, holy crap, these relationships have been worth over the last 4 years, $1.5 million. I don't have that profit without these relationships. What am I going to do about that? And then you can start to say, like, I'm going to take care of these 5 people or 10 people or whatever, but putting a plan in place, you can go steal our blueprint of what we charge lots of money to go walk companies through personally. Giftologysystem.com is our whole blueprint of how we think about who, budget, timing, all of that. It's kind of a basic framework of how to develop your relationship plan. And to me, that's a good place to start.
So the business card question, do you still use metal business cards?
Been using them for like 14 years. Yeah, they're $3. What's even more fun is our letterhead is almost $10, and it's the same steel. It's a piece of steel. It's about this big. We write out with a Sharpie. We send them by the thousands, handwritten with a Sharpie. And people are like, $10 for letterhead. And I'm like, you'll spend $20 on brownies that nobody cares about after a week. And our letterhead, if you get a handwritten note in 2021, it's unusual. If you get one on a sheet of steel, it's remarkable. It's Seth Godin's concept of the purple cow. So I love taking something that most people do cheap, business cards, letterhead, a luggage tag, a knife. Most people have a 50-cent version. I want to take it up 1,000 notches and give them a $500 version. If you give somebody a $500 watch that's a law firm owner, what are they going to do with it? They're going to laugh because they're wearing a Rolex, a Breitling, a Patek, right? Mm-hmm. But if you give somebody a $500, we do these things called artifact mugs that are actually a couple grand. But I tell people, like, I'd rather give a $100 luggage tag than a $500 watch. Why? Because your clientele is going to laugh at a $500 watch. It's not even like, it's not even middle tier of what they would consider best in class. So you don't always have to spend more money than your competitors. You just have to be more thoughtful and strategic. And if you can't give best in class in one category, go to a different category.
So another question I have is sending cold gifts. Yes or no? So, like, for example, if someone wants to get a foot in the door with a big law firm in their market that they want to set up a referral relationship with, what are the do's and don'ts of just sending a crazy gift that is unheard of crazy to, like, the owner of the firm they want to partner with? I think a chiropractor or anything.
Yeah, I think it's awesome. I talk most of our clients out of doing that. And here's why. If you take a small fire that's burning and pour gasoline on it, what does it become? A bigger fire, right? It becomes an explosion. But if you take dry wood and pour gasoline on it, what happens? Probably not going to turn into much. So you need, when you're like I've done, like Jeffrey Gittimer, I sent him a $5,000 knife set. I sent it, but I broke it into 18 chunks. Every month I sent him a different knife for 18 months. It costs a lot of money to get a cold prospect to engage you. But if you take that same amount of money and love on your current relationships and centers of influence and inspire them to go become sales reps, you'll eventually get the client that you want because you triangulate. You figure out that your client knows that client. You love on the crap out of that person over the next 18 months, and they go sell at the country club or on the golf course or whatever, so that you get that relationship, but you spent 1/10 the amount of money. So I tell people all the time, you can go after your dream 100 or your dream 10, but add a 0 or 2 to what you're thinking, because when you're going in cold, they know that you're trying to get their attention, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. I mean, I've sent $40,000 gifts to some people, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. I would much rather take that 40 grand and go invest it into 40 relationships that I already have that are warm and make them hot versus, so I tell people, let's slow play the Dream 100 list. Let's go after, take care of your employees, your clients, your centers of influence. And then if you're not growing as fast as you want, let's take 20% of your budget and let's go send love bombs to your top 5 or 10 or 20, that could be game changers for you. But let's know that it might take a year or 2 or 3 before you're going to land them as a true client or partner, because it's coming in cold versus, going in hot.
So great insight there. One person asked, when you're sending a gift to someone, would you want to use, if it's like B2B, would you want to use their logo?
I used to.
Okay.
I used to always, like when I sent Cameron knives, I put back pocket COO. Guess who didn't give 2 rips about back pocket COO?
Cameron.
His wife.
Ah.
So I realized over time, I used to always put their logo on it. And then I stopped. I started putting their favorite Bible verses if they're a person of faith. I put their favorite quotes. I put their family name. I put their kids' names. I made it all about them. And guess what? Spouses loved it. They didn't forget where it came from, and it became a personal artifact versus a business artifact. Like even Tony Robbins, I had a client reach out like, hey, we just partnered with Tony. We want to do a cool gift. I said, Pete, we're going to do knives. And he's like, come on, we're going to send Tony Robbins knives. I said, we're going to do a $10,000 set, but here's what we're going to do on this huge block, 40 knives. We're going to take 80 of Tony's quotes over 40 years. Every piece is going to be an heirloom. It's going to be an artifact. And then we're going to put it inside a $3,000 wood box called a strong box with a video screen. And you're going to pour out your heart and talk about the millions of people he's impacted. And that future Robbins generation's kids and grandkids will be reminded of the legacy you started as they use these tools and break bread. And Pete's like, do you think it'll work? I said, I'm pretty sure it'll work. We sent it off. We didn't hear from him for 4 months. And then Sage, Tony's wife, called in tears, said, we get a lot of gifts. We have a lot of knife sets in our 10 homes. This is you now have a piece of real estate on our countertop that whether we use it or not, we think of you every single day. And it wasn't because of the stupid knives. It was because of what was engraved into them. And I realized that the canvas, like what you put onto that matters. I used to think, the logo, the whatever. No, it needs to be thoughtful. Like people are like, John, it's the thought that counts. Just send some stuff. And I'm like, that doesn't work. It's the thoughtful thought that counts. And so the little details, when you're dealing with people there's nothing you're going to buy your biggest clients they can't go buy themselves. So unless there's a story and meaning and thoughtfulness and creativity to it that makes them feel an emotion and makes their spouse feel an emotion, then you're just sending stuff. And like most people are giving that stuff to Goodwill or regifting it because we have too much stuff in America. There's overabundance of crap, but you get really thoughtful, world-class creative and personal and help honor somebody's legacy. It's how these $2,000 mugs that we do, I've seen billionaires cry. They could buy their own mug, but they wouldn't. And the reason it's $2,000 is it tells somebody's life story, faith, family, core values, what tragedy have they overcome? When I give those to CEOs, I've given out 140 of them. Almost every single one of them tear up because of the meaning and the depth of even billionaires want their legacy to matter. Even billionaires have struggles and fears and failures. So it's the little things when you tie in that way. It's not about the stupid logo. It's about all the stuff behind it.
my last question here is time versus money investment. When you look at just if you were to assign percentages, when you're looking at building rapport with someone you do or don't know, and you had to assign a percentage to, let's say it's 51% time, 49% money, because you're mentioning some pretty high price tags. And for people who don't have a big budget, can we do this on 90% time, 10% money versus spending tens of thousands of dollars? How would you answer that question, time versus money?
Well, I think that, yeah, as a leader, our time doesn't scale. It just doesn't. And so if you're looking to scale, we're trying to scale thoughtfulness. And so what I would say is, do you value your time, and what's the value of your time? And most people, like, to take somebody out to dinner, like, you can only take so many people out, and there's a lack of like being able to scale that time. And so what I would say is, if you can afford, if you have more than 10 employees at your firm, that, like, each of those employees probably costs, let's call it all in 50 to 100 grand or more per employee. So people that say, John, I don't have the money to do it. Like, I have authors that have no employees. They're like, they invest in their relationship. So most people just have a skewed understanding of how to invest. But I do think that, like, that's not like, just because you give great gifts doesn't mean you don't go spend FaceTime with people. I just think as a leader, the higher up you want to grow, you have to be really careful about where you're investing your time, because that doesn't scale. Whereas something like this, if you do it right, you do have the ability, like, I can help a client hit, 20 offices in one day, or 200 offices or 200 cities in one day. That's the ability, but it's not one or the other. I think for the most part, I invest time into the relationships that are really important, but I also want to make sure that I'm scaling my time by leveraging this, kind of system and process.